Welcome back to my channel. Hi, my name is Megan, and right now I'm loving Pearson Ward's interior design style. If you love warm, lived-in spaces layered with vintage pieces, patterns, colors, and textures, then you'll love it too. Have a seat and let's talk interior design. Pearson Ward is the design company started by friends Louisa Pierce and Emily Ward, who met at a bar in New York City and discovered a mutual love of design and vintage. Since then, they have gone on to design and decorate for Leonardo DiCaprio, Dakota Johnson, Brie Larson, Kate Hudson, Lily Aldridge, Josh Brolin, and so many more. The company has been featured on Architectural Digest's AD 100 list many times. They have a brick-and-mortar store in Los Feliz, LA. They have a book with Rizzoli and have collaborated with brands like Modern Matter and House of Hackney. They create warm, lived-in spaces that feel like home. Their design style reflects their love for vintage and antiques, and appeals to treasure hunters, collectors, and maximalists. Let's break it down into tangible categories. Pearson Ward's style is eclectic. They mix a lot of different ideas, styles, or tastes from a broad and diverse range of sources without leaning too heavily in one direction or trend. This most likely comes from their love of New Orleans design style, which itself is a mashup of styles. As a city, New Orleans has a rich history and is a blend of many cultures, including African, Cajun, Creole, French, German, Irish, Latino, and Spanish. This is reflected in the design style that is timeless, not trendy, a little bohemian and European. Pierce and Ward embraced this aesthetic. Their interior design style is eclectic because it pulls from anywhere and everywhere as they mix furniture and accessories from different eras and interior design styles. They love to incorporate history and memories into all of their designs. The history and memories of a person, a family, a place. And they weave these things into their design through texture, art, color palettes, and patterns. For example, they'll incorporate a color from someone's childhood or a family heirloom into the design. While their work is eclectic, pulling from different eras, styles, and cultures, they stick to timeless furniture and decor pieces, colors, and patterns to ground each space. To avoid fads and trends, they rely heavily on antique and vintage furniture, decor, textiles, and lighting. They prefer classic colors, always using colors found in nature, like creamy ivories, milky greens, warm chocolatey browns, and French grays, as these colors stand the test of time. As for patterns, the same rule applies. If it is found in nature, it will never go out of style, so think leafy and flowery patterns. Pearson Ward often utilize classic patterns including stripes and French florals. They embrace timeless materials like marble and stone. They use subway tiles, clay, and terracotta tiles, and butcher block countertops. While their designs lean maximalist, there is balance. They can be rustic yet refined. Hard is met by soft. Straight lines are softened by curves. Masculine and feminine live side by side. A masculine bedroom has a crocheted or lace throw blanket. Contemporary modern lights and art live in an otherwise traditional room. Sculptural wooden desks, dressers, and side tables will flank chairs and sofas in soft fabrics and soft lines. Colors are cohesive. Palettes are easy on the eye. Their design is playful and whimsical, but mature. Colors and patterns are for grown-ups, never twee, cutesy, or childlike. They are masters of layering, as there are interesting things to look at, to touch, to sit in, and to explore. They incorporate decor with a lot of personality and sentimentality for the owner, including keepsakes and family heirlooms, bold, fun, yet classic prints, and always antiques and vintage. Colors, patterns, and fabrics are warm and soft, which makes every room feel cozy. One of their go-to cozy fabrics is velvet, and they love to incorporate large, lush drapery and valances, as well as wooden shades to add texture around windows and doors. Speaking of windows and doors, Pierce & Ward work with multiple sources for light, layering artificial to complement natural light, avoiding stark overhead lights in favor of installing glittering chandeliers, beveled glass pendant lights, large paper lanterns, and milk glass globes. They are very intentional with their lighting placement, utilizing art lights, task lighting, and table lamps to tell people where to sit and where to look. The layering of light sources, furniture, patterns, color, and decor is complex and leans towards maximalism, but it is restrained. They achieve their restrained maximalist look by organizing and editing each space, which eliminates clutter. One way they reduce visual clutter without reducing a client's belongings is by grouping similar items together to make a collection. Rather than scattered around a room, items like books, dolls, seashells, and other collectible items are gathered together and featured on open shelving. This organizational trick creates a lot of impact and makes the display feel intentional. Pierce & Ward use a lot of bookshelves and open shelving to organize and display personal items. Bookshelves in bedrooms and living rooms create organization and structure for the room and the decor within it. Other organizational and decluttering methods include the use of brass and wooden trays, which corral items on coffee tables and desks. Baskets and decorative boxes hide unsightly knickknacks so that every room is as clutter-free as possible. If you are looking at a Pierce & Ward design project, you may revisit the images many times and always see something new. This is in part due to their layering within the space and to the level of detail in each design. Functional items like coat hooks, faucets, doorknobs, and handles are fun, quirky, and add character. Shelving has unique vintage or antique brackets. Whether a honeycomb pendant light or stylish lamp with a fringed lampshade, every light has visual interest. They love a good fringe, pom-pom, or tassel hanging off a valance, curtain, or lampshade. Bookshelves may be painted two tones or have wallpaper backing. Ceilings may be wallpapered and painted. Each room is beautifully layered and designed down to the smallest detail. To recap, a Pierce & Ward interior design project is a warm, cozy, refined maximalist style, mixing and layering styles, patterns, colors, and design eras while keeping traditional elements and showcasing the collections and personal history of the owner. Now, how to design in a style similar to Pierce & Ward. I'm going to start with a living room design because it doesn't involve construction, electrical work, or plumbing, so it will be an easier space to work with. I'm going to pick a neutral walnut floor and build the design from there. Pierce & Ward love printed wallpaper, especially one featuring nature in some way. I wanted a pretty, mature, classic print, so I went with William Morris's Pimpernel in a beige, pinky peach print. This is probably the biggest splurge in the room. I would most likely pull a color from this print to paint the ceiling and the ceiling medallion. Between the wood floors, the wallpaper, and the paint on the ceiling, we have covered the biggest surface areas in the room, but I want to ground the space and add coziness with a rug. Pierce & Ward love to bring in antique Persian rugs. I scoured Facebook Marketplace, but I didn't see anything that had the colors I wanted and good enough photos to use. So I went to Amazon and found this area rug. I chose this rug because it has a traditional look in a warmer color. The color is a bit brighter than the peachy pink beige wallpaper, but it's complementary. Next, let's bring in some furniture. I want to add some warm wood tones with a bookshelf, which is a must for a Pearson Ward design. I also want to add some tables along the back wall of the room. I chose these vintage, possibly antique pieces because they have a lot of visual interest. Here is a closer look. Notice the legs, the curves, the carvings, the ornamentation. The little one on the left side has a unique marble top, which introduces another pattern, but again, complementary to the other colors and patterns in the room. I found both of these pieces on Facebook Marketplace. As for the bookshelf, it's from Amazon and linked below, but I'm sure you could source one at a restore, thrift store, or IKEA. I kept the wood tones of all three pieces close in color to the flooring. Now, let's add some seating. I'm adding a vintage French-style reading chair against the back wall to create a little moment in that corner of the room. As for the primary seating area, I'm going to float the couch, accent chairs, coffee table, and side tables in the middle of the room. They're floating, but they're not adrift because each piece of furniture will be touching the area rug, which will ground them and create cohesion. I found all of these pieces on Facebook Marketplace. I wanted a velvet couch because Pearson Ward tend to return to this material over and over. They also love a striped pattern, so check and check. The velvet and the chocolatey browns in the couch continue to make the room cozy. As for the accent chairs, I wanted something in the autumn color palette, something shapely and interesting with a pattern. For the tables, I wanted leggy pieces, since the couch and the accent chairs have skirted bottoms. Too many leggy pieces make a room feel busy, and too many skirted or boxy pieces of furniture can make a room feel weighed down and clunky. To avoid this, I want to mix bulky, square, or rectangular furniture and shapes with slim, curvy, circular furniture and shapes. Also, the color of the side tables connects to the other wood pieces in the room, but each table has a slightly different design detail. I love how the one on the right side of the room has a botanical inlay, which nods to the wallpaper and the other botanicals I'll introduce to the room. I selected a curvy-legged coffee table with a marble top to sit in the center of the seating area. The wood is a slightly darker wood than the other tones, which help this piece stand out. But the light color of the marble top will connect to the light colors of the accent chairs and the marble top of the table against the wall in the back of the room. Let's further define the areas of this room with lighting. As of right now, we have a lot of vintage and antique pieces, which is great, but I want to bring in an overhead light fixture that feels more modern and contemporary. I found this milky glass globe light on Facebook Marketplace. The white color will play well with the other whites in the room, and the brass will add a little glam while connecting to the brown tones. I'll add a reading light and a folk art tramp art piece with this popsicle stick lamp. The reading light is from Amazon, but you can pick one up on Facebook Marketplace or at a thrift store. As for the popsicle stick lamp, they can be pricey, so I would make one. I'll continue to layer in the light by adding sconces to the back wall and art lights above the bookshelves. We need lamps on the side tables, and we have a lot of neutrals and browns, so I want to bring in some color. I found these mid-century lamps on Etsy, and I found these lampshades by Googling vintage lampshades. Now, if you watched my last video where I DIY'd 4 lampshades, you probably know that I would have thrifted some lampshades and DIY'd them to get this look. I'm bringing in some neutral colored curtains, but I'm going to give them something special by adding embroidered ribbon to the panel and using a tassel as a tie back. More items to cozy up the room include throw pillows and throw blankets. The scalloped pillows are trimmed with velvet, which connects them to the velvet on the couch. The orangey yellow of the trim connects to the rug. I'm layering in plenty of books, brass candlestick holders, a vintage brass bowl and vintage tins to hold matchbooks and other knickknacks, baskets for texture and to hide clutter, antique bookends, and vintage art. I'm also adding 2 personal collections, a set of 3 Delft jelly molds, and an assortment of vintage glass candy dishes. If you've been to a thrift store, you know they are easy to find. Last but not least, I'm adding plants and flowers to add more color and life to the room. And that's my Pearson Ward living room on a budget. What do you think? Want to see a dining room? Great, here we go. We're starting with the same flooring, but changing it up with a darker, moodier wallpaper with this one from Sandberg Wallpaper. I'm adding board and batten to the walls and painting it a blue-green that complements the wallpaper. I'll most likely take that color to the ceiling as well, unless I really splurge and cover the ceiling with wallpaper. On the floor, I've placed a vintage Persian rug from Facebook Marketplace. The base of the rug is a creamy beige, while the design has pinks, blues, and greens that are close to the wallpapers, but not perfectly matching. I'm bringing in a black dresser and a sideboard to hold napkins, tablecloths, servingware, candlesticks, and other things you'll need to store in a dining room. The sideboard can also be used as a bar cart. We need a dining room table, so I'm adding this French country-looking wooden table alongside these vintage chairs. The chairs add personality and texture, while the blue and white pattern on the seats plays nicely with the other blues in the room. To soften the space, I'm adding some drapery from Amazon, but I'm personalizing it with embroidered ribbon on each panel. I found this vintage brass hook that I'm going to use as a tie back, along with some extra large tassels. More softness comes in with these vintage lamps and their fabric lampshades. This lamp is contemporary, but the base has a cool texture and the color speaks to the color of the vintage pair. Now for some glam, I'm adding this beautiful glass light fixture. I'm bringing in a vintage-inspired mirror to help bounce light around the room, some art with art lights, a pair of flamingos to add something funky, a vintage painted tray, and a vintage tin box to organize clutter. Lastly, a collection of vintage brass candlestick holders for light and personality, and a faux olive tree in a basket to add some life and texture. And that's my Pearson Ward dining room. Before I sign off, I want to read this quote from one of the women. She said, "If you want results that are special, you can't always make safe choices. Home is an ongoing process that comes in waves. People change over time, and so should the rooms in a home. Nothing is permanent, and everything can be fixed or redone or repainted." What's your favorite Pearson Ward design? Comment below. I'm curious to see if you like the same ones as me. After working on this video, I definitely feel the need to add tassels to something. If I neglected to identify all the places I sourced items for the room designs, comment below and let me know what you're looking for. If you like thrifting, interior design, and DIY, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications. I post videos on Saturday morning. Until then, enjoy more Pearson Ward designs. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.